The first 5 species that we're going to talk about spread across the globe a long time ago and aren't currently known to cross over from the North American range to the European range or vice versa. But the final species in this video is one that's capable of making that huge journey, so stick around to find out which one that is. Our first species is the golden eagle. This giant bird is rare in the UK, with less than 500 breeding pairs. Things are a bit better for them in the USA, where there are almost 30,000 individuals spread across a vast range, although most common in the West. Golden eagles are a really interesting species across their range because some individuals migrate and some don't. Birds that live in islands, like on the UK, tend to be the individuals that stay stationary on their breeding territory all year round. Birds that live on the larger continents, like the USA, tend to migrate between their wintering and their breeding sites. It's the birds in the northern parts of these ranges that tend to migrate the furthest. When golden eagles do travel, they can move great distances. In Norway, fledglings have been found moving up to 1,500 kilometres away from their birthing nests to be able to establish new territories. However, to be able to cross the Atlantic Ocean, they would need to be able to fly more than double that, so it's not a surprise that no golden eagles ringed in the USA have ever been found in the UK or vice versa. But how related are the UK and USA golden eagles? Well, like many species, their lineage patterns can be traced back to the last ice age. As glaciers formed, the golden eagles are split into 2 populations, one finding refuge in Asia and another in the Mediterranean. Modern golden eagles in the Northern Hemisphere, covering Northern Europe, Asia and North America, can trace their lineage back to that Asian refuge, while birds in Central and Southern Europe trace theirs back to the Mediterranean refuge. Our second species is the bottlenose dolphin. This is one of the most wide-ranging ocean species in the world. In the UK, there are permanent resident groups living on our coastal areas, including in southern England, Wales and Scotland. Around Irish coasts, hundreds of individuals can be seen coming together, although groups are usually only numbered up to about 25, and only a few small groups are thought to be residents. These dolphins are the most abundant dolphin species along the coasts of the USA. Bottlenose dolphins are seen in 2 distinct forms. There are those that tend to be found around coastal areas and are generally residents of those areas, and there are those that tend to be found further offshore and tend to be found migrating up to 2,600 miles in a season. These offshore dolphins tend to be larger, darker, and have a proportionally shorter set of fins and beaks. It's thought that these differences are generally related to heat retention as well as manoeuvrability. Across their range, bottlenose dolphin populations maintain differences between coastal and offshore individuals. In the USA and California, it's the coastal individuals that tend to be larger and have a lighter colour, whereas the offshore individuals tend to live in bigger groups and are found swimming alongside sperm whales. In the UK, where bottlenose dolphin populations are larger than in anywhere else in the world, it's the offshore populations that seem to have a completely distinct population from the coastal residents, and these individuals move away during the winter and are often seen swimming alongside pilot whales. Although some tracked bottlenose dolphins have been found to be moving greater distances than the width of the Atlantic Ocean, the connectivity between populations isn't very well known. In all of the studies that I came across, it tended to be coastal populations that were being studied, so these vast differences were actually moved along coastlines. I couldn't find any research to suggest whether or not populations in the USA ever migrated over to the UK or vice versa. The third species found in both locations is the red fox. The density of red foxes varies greatly in both locations, but as a highly adaptable and opportunistic species, they make great use of human-altered landscapes. This has helped them have the widest geographical range of any land-living carnivore. Red foxes are native to the UK and are actually the only foxes native to the entire of Western Europe. Whether or not the red fox is native to the Americas has been up for debate in recent years. Initially, it was thought that European colonizers brought them over and they then spread after that. However, genetic evidence suggests that red foxes actually migrated into North America during the last ice age. Whether or not red foxes in the UK and USA are part of the same species has also been up for debate. Genetic analysis suggests that North American red foxes are a distinct genetic population and are deserving of their own species status. When you get to this level of zoology, things do get quite murky, and there's a lot of argument going on as to what a species actually is. So there's been no consensus on this, and as of right now, North American red foxes are their own distinct subspecies, but still belong to the same species as the European red fox. Our fourth species is the barn swallow, which can be seen breeding in both the UK and USA between April and September. Then over winter, this species will migrate south to its overwintering sites, which are different locations on each side of the Atlantic. In the UK, swallows are seen across the region in the summer, with a few exceptions in the far north of Scotland. Here, the males will choose a single female and will defend their nesting territory aggressively. Both males and females will contribute together to building a nest out of mud, which is where they will raise their young. As the winter rolls around, both the adults and the new young migrate at the same time, making a 6,000-mile journey over to South Africa. This journey is fraught with dangers, especially while they're crossing the Sahara Desert. Swallows in the USA follow a very similar pattern, although those that live in the southern states can be seen returning as early as February. They're really faithful to their nesting sites, and up to 40% of them will actually return to the same nest that they used the previous year. By August, most of the swallows will have started to head south again to their wintering territories in Central and South America. Here, despite being highly territorial in the breeding season, they will actually start to gather in small flocks to feed, and can also roost in groups of thousands of individuals. The populations of swallows in Europe and the Americas are considered to be the same species but classed as distinct subspecies, like with the red fox. I wasn't able to find any evidence that they ever crossed the Atlantic. Historically, this swallow species diverged from an African swallow species and spread into the northern hemisphere. Then, in close succession, a European group became genetically separated, followed by the North American and Asian groups. Interestingly, the most recent known divergence was a population in the Baikal region of Siberia, which has the same lineage as the North American population. It's not actually known how they arrived here, but it's very interesting to have a newer lineage like this one, bordered either side by two much older lineages. The fifth species in this video is the orca, otherwise nicknamed the killer whale. There are at least 50,000 orca in the world, but a lack of data on their populations means that we can't be confident in just how many exist. It might surprise people here that orcas are found all year round in the UK, although sightings do peak in the summer. There is a small group that tends to range around the coasts of the western UK. There are also larger groups that are seen offshore during the winter and are occasionally seen in northern Scotland. Orcas are commonly seen along the coasts of the USA, with the most studied pods in the world being found on the northwestern side of the Pacific waters. Orcas are the largest member of the dolphin family and display some of the most complex behaviours. They live together in small family groups of up to 20 individuals called pods, and each of these pods have their own specific language. They communicate with each other with a series of complex sounds, and each sound is unique to that family. They can join up into much larger groups for purposes of socialization. However, most of these pods will also have their own distinct hunting strategies and prey types, with some of them even specializing on a single prey species, like salmon. When they're hunting, they will have a coordinated attack strategy and communicate with each other by flashing black and white markings to tell each other what they're doing. As this map of sightings shows, orcas can be seen across the Atlantic. However, I couldn't find any research as to whether they stick within specific parts of the Atlantic or actually cross the full length of the ocean. At the very least, the resident population of orcas in the UK doesn't make the crossing. Each individual has been identified, and unfortunately it's thought that they might be infertile since they haven't had a calf in the 30 years since monitoring began. Unfortunately, we do suspect that it's because of the chemicals that we use that have caused this infertility. Thankfully though, the visiting population that comes to Scotland has been seen with a calf, so doesn't seem to be suffering with this issue, although it's not known how genetically separated they might be from the North American orcas. The final species in this video is the Arctic tern. This is the only species on today's list that is known to cross the Atlantic, and so there is potential that our population in the UK is more closely related to those in the USA than for other species. Arctic terns are a really fascinating species with the longest known migration of any animal on the planet. They can travel a round trip of 30,000 kilometres in a single year and live up to 30 years, which means that in their lifetimes they can make the round trip to the moon 3 times. Arctic terns mate for life and tend to be very loyal to their breeding and overwintering sites. In the summer they will breed in the northern hemisphere, in the UK focusing around the north and west coasts of Scotland and Ireland, whereas in the Americas it tends to be in Alaska and Canada that they're breeding. After they've bred, they follow the summer season south until they reach the Antarctic Circle. All Arctic terns share only a few migration routes, or flyways. During the migration to their winter grounds, they tend to follow coastal areas, searching for food to rebuild their energy after breeding. During the migration to their summer breeding grounds, they tend to fly over the middle of the ocean, using the higher wind speeds there to quickly get back and start breeding. Although most Arctic terns are loyal to their nesting grounds, this isn't always the case, and they have been known to veer off course and pop up in different continents. This includes a 14-year-old bird that was found in Minnesota in the USA, but was originally ringed in Shetland, showing that they don't always stick to the migration routes on their side of the Atlantic. In fact, this is a list of all the countries Arctic terns have been found in that were ringed in the UK or vice versa. Did the presence of any of these species in both locations surprise you? If you want to support me in continuing to create these free educational videos, then check out my new Patreon page. I have 5 different monthly support tiers to choose from, ranging from just £2 up to the higher tiers where you can vote for video topics, have your name credited at the end of each video, receive personalised art of any UK species, and get one-on-one consultation calls with me on any nature-related topic of your choice. Subscribe to Ferroforest to keep learning about UK nature.